Welcome back to Gourmet Government, the only show where everything we make is an analogy for the means of distributing power. Today we've got democracy cookies, and you're gonna need a lot of things for that. You're gonna need republicanism, popular sovereignty, checks and balances, federalism, individual freedoms, separation of powers, limited government, and of course, chocolate chips, because who doesn't need chocolate chips in their government? I know I do, and we will use them. So the first thing we're actually going to want to do is separate out our powers. By separating our powers, I mean we're going to put our butter on the stove on medium-high heat, and we're going to let it melt. In melting, we're going to separate the fatty part of the butter and the milky part of the butter, and we're going to let those, in our case, toast. In some cases, if you didn't want a separation of powers or wanted to remove a power, you could skim that milk right off the top. That's what you use to get clarified butter, or I don't know, clarified powers, I guess. But in our case, we want that toasted butter. We want those complicated powers that are separate and nutty and complex and delicious. And in this case, you can see that in a short time, our butter has toasted. And now, our phone camera is going to die due to overheating, and we're going to have to cut to a shot of us pouring out that nice, toasty, separated powers into a cup. And just look at that, that's just some nice toasty butter right there. And so what we're going to do is actually chill that in the fridge or freezer for a while until it re-solidifies, and then bring it over to our popular sovereignty and get it ready to mix. And so what you're going to do is you're going to come over and you're going to start to put those separate powers into your mixing bowl, and realize that you definitely froze it for way too long, or you're going to have to speed up the video in order for you to get it all out of the container in a timely manner. And so that's what we're going to do. We're going to get a butter knife, we're going to try real hard, and eventually we will succeed in getting those powers separate into the container. Then we're going to add our popular sovereignty, here comprised of both brown and light sugar, to show that, hey, people are different and complicated and complex, and that we need all different kinds of people in our government, and all of them deserve to have a voice in our democracy. And so we're going to turn on our mixer and let those two things mix and make sure that anarcho chaos doesn't ensue just yet in everything, and make sure that they all mix and incorporate nicely and smoothly. We're going to wonder how to pose for a while as we time-lapse this. We're going to go check our recipe to make sure we know exactly what we're doing for the next steps. We're going to stand there and let that all mix for a little while. We're going to scrape down the sides of the bowl on occasion. We're going to make sure that we're ready for the next step of the video and that everything's separated out. And look at that, just like that, our powers are combined and homogeneous. And so we're going to mix those up for just a little bit longer, and we're going to throw our eggs, or our checks and balances, into the equation. We're going to add those in one at a time to ensure that everything mixes smoothly and doesn't result in anarcho chaos. And so we're going to add in one of those checks and balances right now, and let that mix for just a little bit. Wipe down the sides of the bowl once more and add in the other check and or balance. And then we're going to let that mix for just a little while, and we're going to push that right off to the side while we get the rest of our ingredients ready to go. So we have our 11.5 ounces of republicanism in there right now, and then we're going to add to that our federalism, our limited government, and almost watch as our individual freedoms go right out of the container, but thankfully don't, and add that into the mix as well. Then realize that you don't have a whisk right next to you, and speed up the footage while you go grab one, and then come back and whisk that all together. Again, you don't need to whisk this a whole lot, just to kind of get that a little bit combined and prepared. It's all going to get combined in the big mixer here in a second, which we're going to bring right over right now. So scrape down the sides of that mixer one more time, and slowly, in about 2 rounds, add in your other powers to make sure there's no anarcho chaos, and then mix that all together for a little while. It doesn't have to be fully incorporated. Right now you're going to add in our chocolate chips here too, so it's fine if you got a bit of flour, a bit of republicanism and such still prominent in the bowl. You can take this opportunity to hand mix this with a spatula for just a second, and I can show you how we're doing here. That's how our dough is looking so far. Pretty good. A little bit of flour, republicanism scattered throughout there, but not a whole lot. Now we have our chocolate chips, of course, an essential part to any democracy, and we're going to mix those and fold those into the mix as such. And so there we are, there's our dough again. We're going to cover that up and put it in the fridge for a little while, because like any democracy, any form of government, it takes time, and in that case that was a quick jump, so I guess maybe not a whole lot. But you have to chill, you have to let those flavors mold and combine together, and to really play off each other, and to continue to develop in the fridge or freezer or wherever. And here you can see I'm going to shape our democracy in a few different ways. We're going to have some that are rolled, some that are rolled and then cracked open, some that are just scooped right out of there. So throw that into a 350-degree oven for about 12 to 17 minutes, or until the cookies are, I don't know, finished and democracy is done. And you're going to take those out of the oven and let them cool for a little while longer, however long you're willing to wait and however long your patience is willing to give you before you want to dive into these democracy cookies. And so, coming back over, you can again continue to observe the difference in the result of the democracy just in the little ways that we shaped them. The center one looks different, it's rounder, it's smoother. The ones on the side that were meant to be a little bit more craggly actually came out smoother than the ones on the right that were just basic scooped out cookies. And so we're going to take a taste in this, and you can taste all the flavors play off of each other really well, even the stuff in small quantities. Like individual freedoms or limited government are still very important pieces of the overall democracy cookie and are very prominent in the cookie itself. Everything balances really well, everything is in harmony with each other right now. And so that is wonderful. And so honestly, everything mixes really well. Even the federalism, which can sometimes be a little bit too much and too noticeable in some democracies, is folded in there real nicely. And so I'm going to go inspect this more off camera and observe. And maybe grab the other democracies just for safekeeping.